from the draft,
but not from the trade. If you look at my senior people, they all started as associates. And so you have years and years of observation, and you can test and build their metal to see, okay, are they that or are they something else? And I, every now and then you see people flame out. I will tell you, I've had some senior people flame out.
Just they got tired.
Well,
or they hit their utility.
They hit the utility.
Okay.
And some are they just don't, they can't handle the pressure. They can't do hard things. You kind of see, I always crack up because back in the day, I'd look at people, okay, we're about to get involved in a deal. Now this person has to go out on vacation. I'm like, okay, so you really don't want to get in the fight and make this happen. And so those who don't have that metal, who haven't been able to really, hone their own metal, okay, they flame out.
So the interesting thing about that, though, is when you're running a software company that you've acquired, you have a situation to where you need to
test them.
Literally.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
You got to get there fast because you can't hold the company for 22 years or for 25 years like Vista's been.
Right.
You got to be able to make this business really, really valuable in 4, 5, 6, or 7.
Yeah.
So you can't necessarily do it from the draft instead of the trade.
So as a portfolio company, so that's what we do, aptitude test and personality profile.
Okay.
And we look at those. And every quarter we got a 9 box that we look at. And I laugh sometimes. Some of my senior executives go native.
What do you mean?
Okay, my people, not the operators. Oh, we can change them. I'm like, okay. And then you got to go through well, how often have you said that has actually happened?
Yes.
Okay, and that's always a challenge.
Yes, it is.
And so in driving that, look, we don't always get it right. Not surprising, right?
Yeah.
But we get it right most of the time, more often than not, right? Which is kind of what you have to drive.
Yeah.
When you have 89 companies and you're adding a bunch in add-ons and all that sort of stuff, I mean, you're playing more probability. But in the big companies, you have to get really, really right, really, really early.
Sure.
And then you have to, when you're going through IC on the small companies, you've got to look those co-heads and tell me about the nature of that CEO.
Mm-hmm.
I need to understand the nature of who they are. Are they a problem solver? Are they an early stage person? Are they a quitter? Are they going to be able to deal with that? If they lose their top 10 customers, what happens? Right? And they don't get it right. But what happens is, remember, my co-heads have been around forever now, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at them, what happens is they've learned from the lessons of the past now.
Sure.
And so they're more valuable today.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the question, the real issue you have with some of them, not the ones that, they start making a little too much money. And now they lose their hunger.
Exactly. Some people are doing it for the money only, right? It's great to have the money as well.
Some are doing it for the money.
Yeah.
And look,
then it doesn't last.
You can't necessarily tell that coming in. You always want them poor, smart, and hungry.
Well, you also see that with founders too, right?
Yeah.
They get a little money and then all of a sudden they
It's like,
lose their focus. It's not that
yeah,
piece.
I want to know.
Well, I mean,
You can't relate it in. I want to punch them in the head.
Yeah, you're like,
it's like, what's the matter with you?
Yeah, what is the matter
You're not
with
going to
you?
be fulfilled by that anyway, right?
Ever.
It's got to keep growing and giving. Those are the two things that make it work, right?
Exactly, but they don't necessarily get that, right?
Well, but I mean, it's so hard to find those people that truly are not doing it for the money. They grew up, hungry.
Yeah.
And then they achieve it and they just go, that's what it's all about. And then they coast. And unfortunately, we know that they're not going to be fulfilled. They're not going to be happy because if we're not growing, we're dying.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to see that until they've had that taste of it.
Yeah.
If they're really going to stick with it.
Yeah, and when you see it, it's disappointing to me. You're like, okay, so you were just in this for the money.
Right.
Okay, all right, you can make a choice.